mystery of the dark alley. In a small town, there was an old and abandoned alley known as the Dark Alley. It looked like any other ordinary street during the day, but as soon as night fell, strange noises echoed through it. It seemed as if footsteps could be heard on the road. Distant screams would occasionally break the silence, and sometimes eerie laughter would send shivers down one's spine. People believed that whoever entered the alley never returned. Ethan, a passionate and fearless young man fascinated by paranormal mysteries, decided to uncover the secrets of the alley. His friends warned him repeatedly, but he refused to listen. One night, armed with his flashlight and camera, he stepped into the alley. As soon as Ethan entered, an unsettling feeling gripped him. The air grew cold, and an eerie silence settled around him. Darkness engulfed everything except for the dim glow of his flashlight that barely illuminated a few steps ahead. He had a strong sense that someone was watching him. Suddenly he heard footsteps. Ethan turned around but saw nothing. "It's just my imagination," he reassured himself. But even his own voice echoed strangely in the empty alley. As he moved forward, an old mansion's door creaked open by itself. He switched on his camera and stepped inside. Dust covered every surface, and old paintings hung on the walls, suggesting that the mansion once belonged to a wealthy family. But now, it stood desolate. A musty, damp smell filled the air, and somewhere in the distance, a faint bell chimed. "Who's there?" Ethan called out, but the only response was his own echo. Then, out of nowhere, eerie laughter rang out from one of the rooms. A soft, sinister giggle that gradually grew louder. As he stepped inside the room, a chilling sensation ran down his spine. Suddenly, the shadow of a small girl darted past him. Ethan's breath caught in his throat. She wore a tattered white dress, her long, disheveled hair covering most of her face. As she slowly turned, her eyes appeared as dark as endless voids, and her mouth was grotesquely twisted. "You can't leave," she whispered. Ethan tried to step back, but his legs felt paralyzed. The girl raised her hand, and suddenly, the entire mansion began to tremble. Blood started dripping from the walls, old portraits shook violently, and a muffled wailing sound seemed to emerge from the very walls of the mansion. "I'm trapped," Ethan screamed, but his voice never left the confines of the cursed house. The doors slammed shut, and a strong gust of wind howled through the halls. The floorboards cracked, oozing a dark, thick liquid, as a sinister voice echoed, "Now, you are one of us." Ethan struggled to force the door open, but darkness consumed everything. His camera slipped from his hands, and the recording abruptly ended. The next morning, people found Ethan's camera lying in the alley. His best friend, Jason, watched the footage, and his blood ran cold. The video showed Ethan alone, but every time he looked away, a shadowy figure lurked behind him. The final scene carried a single ominous whisper, "Who's next?" Then, for a split second, the screen flickered, revealing the faint sound of a woman sobbing. The footage grew distorted, and in the last frame, a tall, shadowy figure stared directly into the camera. Its lips moved, but no sound came through. Jason panicked and shut his laptop, but his ears still rang with the echoes of laughter and screams. That night, as he lay in bed, he noticed a shadow standing in the corner of his room, the same figure from the footage. And then, a chilling whisper reached his ears. "Now, it's your turn."